Modern society is actually pulling us away from Jesus in ways you might not even realize, and I'm going to break it down for you. In today's world, it's easy to feel like our faith is under attack from all sides. We're constantly bombarded with messages that contradict our values and beliefs, and it can be hard to stay focused on what's truly important. But have you ever stopped to think about the specific factors that might be contributing to this feeling of disconnection from our faith? I think it's time we take a closer look. One of the biggest challenges we face as Christians in modern society is the sheer amount of noise and distraction that surrounds us. Between social media, TV, and the constant stream of notifications on our phones, it's easy to get caught up in the hustle and bustle and forget to prioritize our relationship with God. And let's be real. When was the last time you took a few minutes to sit quietly and reflect on your faith? As we navigate the complexities of modern life, it's essential that we stay intentional about making time for God. This might mean setting aside our phones during meals or before bed, or finding a quiet spot to pray during our lunch breaks. Whatever it looks like for you, make sure you're prioritizing your faith in the midst of all the chaos. In a world that's always on the go, it's easy to lose sight of what's truly important. But as Christians, we know that our relationship with God is the foundation of our lives. So let's make a conscious effort to stay connected to Him, even when the world around us is trying to pull us in 1,000 different directions. Technology and social media have undoubtedly changed the way we live and interact with each other. And while there are certainly some benefits to these tools, I think it's safe to say that they've also had a profound impact on our personal faith. For one thing, the constant stream of information and updates can be incredibly distracting. When was the last time you scrolled through your social media feeds without feeling like you needed to respond to something or other? Social media, in particular, has a way of making us feel like we need to present a perfect image to the world. We curate our profiles to showcase the highlight reels of our lives, and it's easy to get caught up in the idea that everyone else is living a more exciting or fulfilling life than we are. But the truth is, nobody is perfect, and everyone is struggling with something. And when we're too busy comparing ourselves to others, we can lose sight of our relationship with God. Constant connectivity can also make it difficult for us to engage in spiritual practices like meditation and prayer. When was the last time you took a few minutes to sit quietly and focus on your breath? It's hard to do that when your phone is constantly buzzing with notifications and updates. And yet, it's exactly these kinds of spiritual practices that help us stay grounded and connected to our faith. In the midst of all the noise and distraction, it's essential that we make a conscious effort to prioritize our relationship with God. This might mean setting aside specific times each day to pray or reflect on Scripture, or finding ways to incorporate spiritual practices into our daily routines. As we look at the impact of technology and social media on our personal faith, it's clear that these tools have the power to both unite and divide us. While they can provide a sense of community and connection, they can also distract us from what's truly important. So let's be intentional about how we're using these tools and make sure we're staying focused on our relationship with God. In recent years, secularism has become an increasingly prominent force in our society, and while it's certainly true that this shift has brought about some benefits, such as greater tolerance and inclusivity, I think it's also had a profound impact on our religious engagement. When we're surrounded by messages that contradict our values and beliefs, it can be hard to stay committed to our faith. One of the biggest challenges posed by secularism is the idea that faith is somehow less relevant or important in today's world. We're told that science and reason are the only reliable ways of understanding the world, and that faith is somehow inferior or outdated. But as Christians, we know that our faith is based on a deep and abiding relationship with God, and that it's this relationship that gives our lives meaning and purpose. Secularism can also lead to a decline in religious engagement, as people become less interested in organized religion and more focused on individualized spirituality. And while there's certainly nothing wrong with seeking a personal connection with God, I think it's essential that we also prioritize our connections with other believers. When we're part of a faith community, we're surrounded by people who share our values and beliefs and who can support and encourage us as we navigate the ups and downs of life. And yet, in a secular society, it can be hard to find communities like this. We might feel like we're the only ones who still hold to traditional beliefs and values, and that can be a lonely and isolating experience. As we navigate the complexities of secularism, it's essential that we stay committed to our faith even when the world around us is telling us that it's less important or relevant. Let's prioritize our relationships with other believers and make sure we're staying grounded in our faith. In recent years, we've seen some significant cultural shifts, particularly when it comes to family structures and lifestyles. And while these changes have undoubtedly brought about some benefits, such as greater flexibility and freedom, I think they've also had a profound impact on our community and church involvement. One of the biggest challenges posed by these cultural shifts is the decline of traditional family structures. As more and more people delay marriage and have fewer children, it can be hard to find a sense of community and belonging. And when we're not surrounded by people who share our values and beliefs, it can be hard to stay committed to our faith. Changes in lifestyles have also led to a greater emphasis on individualism, and this can make it difficult for us to prioritize our relationships with others. We might be more likely to focus on our own personal goals and aspirations and less likely to invest in our communities or churches. As we navigate these cultural shifts, it's essential that we find ways to prioritize our relationships with others, even when the world around us is telling us to focus on ourselves. Let's make a conscious effort to get involved in our churches and communities, and to support and encourage one another as we navigate the ups and downs of life. Materialism and consumerism have become an insidious part of our modern society, and I think they have a profound impact on our spiritual fulfillment and connection to Jesus. When we're constantly bombarded with messages telling us that we need the latest and greatest things, it can be hard to stay focused on what's truly important. We might find ourselves getting caught up in the idea that happiness and fulfillment come from external sources, such as material possessions or wealth. And yet, as Christians, we know that true fulfillment comes from our relationship with God. So why do we keep falling for the lie that more stuff will make us happier? One of the biggest challenges posed by materialism and consumerism is that they can lead to a sense of discontentment and dissatisfaction. We're constantly told that we need more and that what we have is never enough. And when we're constantly striving for something better, it can be hard to find contentment and peace in the present moment. As we navigate the complexities of materialism and consumerism, it's essential that we stay focused on what's truly important. Let's prioritize our relationship with God and make a conscious effort to cultivate a sense of gratitude and contentment, even in the midst of abundance. In recent years, political polarization and division have become an increasingly prominent force in our society. And while it's certainly true that these divisions have brought about some benefits, such as greater awareness and activism, I think they've also had a profound impact on our faith communities. One of the biggest challenges posed by political polarization is that it can lead to conflict and division within our churches. We might find ourselves at odds with other believers over political issues, and this can make it hard to stay united and focused on our shared faith. Political polarization can also lead to a sense of disillusionment and disconnection from our faith communities. We might feel like our churches are too politicized or that they're not doing enough to address the issues that matter most to us. And when we're disconnected from our faith communities, it can be hard to stay committed to our faith. As we navigate the complexities of political polarization, it's essential that we stay focused on what unites us as believers. Let's prioritize our relationships with other Christians, even when we disagree on political issues, and let's make a conscious effort to stay grounded in our faith, even in the midst of conflict and division. In recent years, there's been an increasing emphasis on education and the importance of science and rationality. And while it's certainly true that these things are essential for understanding the world around us, I think they've also had a profound impact on our faith. One of the biggest challenges posed by this emphasis on education is that it can lead to a sense of doubt and uncertainty about our faith. We might be taught that science and rationality are the only reliable ways of understanding the world, and that faith is somehow inferior or outdated. This emphasis on education can also lead to a decline in religious engagement as people become more focused on intellectual pursuits and less interested in spiritual matters. And when we're not prioritizing our relationship with God, it can be hard to stay committed to our faith. As we navigate rationality in shaping our understanding of the world, while these are undoubtedly valuable, they can sometimes create tension between faith and reason. Many people begin to see faith as outdated or incompatible with modern knowledge, leading them to question or even abandon their belief in God. One of the biggest challenges in this area is the perception that science and religion are inherently at odds. The media and academic institutions often present faith as something that belongs to the past, while science is seen as the only path to truth. But as Catholics, we know that faith and reason are not enemies. They complement each other. Many great scientists throughout history were devout believers, seeing their work as a way to uncover the mysteries of God's creation. Instead of letting the modern emphasis on education and science pull us away from Jesus, we should embrace the wisdom of our faith while engaging thoughtfully with new knowledge. Faith isn't about rejecting reason, it's about seeing beyond what reason alone can explain. If we remain rooted in prayer and scripture, we can strengthen our faith even in a world that often challenges it. Another major challenge we face in modern society is the growing prevalence of mental health struggles, such as anxiety, depression, and loneliness. These issues can make it difficult for people to experience a close relationship with Christ, especially when they feel abandoned, hopeless, or unworthy. When someone is struggling mentally or emotionally, it can be hard to find the motivation to pray, attend church, or engage with the faith community. Some may even feel that God is silent or distant during their suffering. But the truth is, Christ is closest to the brokenhearted. Psalm 34:18. He never abandons us, even in our darkest moments. As believers, we must support one another in these struggles and remind each other that faith can be a source of healing. Seeking help, whether through prayer, counseling, or the sacraments, is not a sign of weakness, but an act of faith. When we surrender our burdens to Christ, He can bring peace and restoration to our weary souls. Modern society presents many challenges that can pull us away from Jesus. Constant distractions, secular influences, materialism, division, and personal struggles. But despite these obstacles, we are not powerless. We have the ability to stay rooted in our faith, to be intentional about our spiritual lives, and to resist the pressures of the world. Instead of allowing society to dictate our relationship with Christ, let's choose to make faith a priority. Let's set aside time for prayer, seek out faith-filled communities, and remind ourselves that nothing in this world can satisfy our souls the way Jesus can. Now I want to hear from you. Have you felt the impact of modern society on your faith? What are some ways you stay connected to Jesus despite these challenges? Share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to read them. And if you found this video helpful, be sure to check out my next one on deepening your prayer life. Let's continue this journey of faith together. God bless you and see you in the next video.
I appreciate you taking the time to watch and be here. If this video resonated with you or touched your heart, please consider supporting the channel by buying me a coffee. Simply scan the QR code or click the link in the description below. Your generosity keeps this mission alive. See you soon. God bless. If you're looking to overcome depression and anxiety by strengthening your spirituality, I invite you to check out my ebook, Soulful Transformations, Bridging Faith and Mind for Lasting Wellness, available on Kindle. This book combines cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, with biblical wisdom to help you manage stress, tackle anxiety, and find lasting peace through faith. It's not just about mental health. It's about deepening your relationship with God and transforming your life in ways that inspire others. Check the description below for the link and take the first step toward a life of spiritual and emotional wellness.